After 12 weeks of hard work, Arizona State finally did it. They made the Big 12 championship and would face Iowa State. But they were still looking for more. A trip to the first ever 12-team college football playoff. This one game would result in a team winning their first ever Big 12 championship. This one game would give Arizona State a chance to go from being picked 16th to ending up the best one in the conference. And most importantly, this one game would determine a bid to the college football playoff and give that team a chance to compete for the national championship. As I mentioned before, ASU would play Iowa State, a team that they've never faced before. Iowa State has a great quarterback in Rocco Becht and two very solid receivers, Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, both who would go on to be in the NFL. If this was at the beginning of the year, this would be a very tough task for Arizona State's secondary, but they have improved mightily from the beginning of the season and are ready to take on the task. Iowa State had a hard time this year against the run, and they would face arguably the best running back that they'd have to face, Cam Skattebo. With Jordan Tyson out for this game, he would have to carry a heavy load. Skattebo had an amazing season, being second in rushing yards behind Heisman candidate Ashton Jeanty. Yet if you were to ask most fans at this time, they still wouldn't know who he was. But he would have a chance to prove himself in a prime time game, with the entire college football world watching. This was the biggest Arizona State game in the 2000s. The energy in this stadium was unreal. We talked to people, captured their predictions, their nerves, and their hype.
Talking about the absence of Jordan Tyson, but this is the best pass defense in the Big 12. So even if they had Jordan Tyson, I don't know if they would do all that well. To me, it's very simple, guys. You're playing the third worst run defense in the Big 12. ASU's bread and butter is the ground attack. Just go ahead and do what you've been doing for the entire season. Run, and when you think about what to do, run some more, and you're going to be fine. On defense, I think that this team can stop a very talented wide receiver group for Iowa State. They're not going to totally shut them down, but they're going to do just enough. I'm picking the Sun Devils to win 28-24. What a Cinderella story, ending with a Cinderella ending.
And after this, a big YouTube channel, Snapback Sports, pulled us aside and interviewed us.
AT and Quinn, and you guys are Iowa State or Arizona State fans?
ASU.
ASU? And how are you feeling about the game?
I'm pretty confident Cam Skattebo should have a good game. I don't think Iowa State's run defense is very good, so Cam Skattebo.
All right, Skattebo all night long. Is this the biggest Arizona State game in your guys' lives?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's how big this moment felt. Everyone wanted to be a part of it. Let's go see what happened.
And you're in on the line here in Arlington. Cam Skattebo nearly 1,400 yards, and this is how he's going to open up the Big 12 championship. As advertised, Big Cam. And it's a great job.
On the very first play of the game, Cam Skattebo had an electric 30-yard run to get to Iowa State's side of the field. Just 2 plays later, Levitt finds Stovall wide open for a gain of 20. But they can't get anything on first, second, and third down, and they have to settle for a field goal. And new kicker Carson Kiefer gets his first field goal of his college career on the biggest stage. After this, Rocco Becht had a good drive of his own, slinging it to his tight end and running back multiple times to get within 3 yards of the end zone before Becht throws a check down to the running back and he walks into the end zone. Levitt finds Mateer, but not enough for a first down. So on third down, he gives it to Skattebo, but he is stopped. And on 4th and 1, on their own 31-yard line, Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo elect to go for it, practically gifting Iowa State a touchdown if they don't get it.
5-yard line. Levitt to pass on 4th and 1. Wide open and complete. Snowfall. A race to the goal line and just tripped up.
Levitt fakes the handoff, drawing a lot of the defense before throwing it to a wide-open Melquan Stovall to get within 4 yards of the end zone. And just 2 plays later,
Has 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Is he the target here? Levitt's going to run with Scadaboo blocking, and he goes right in.
Levitt would keep it on a design run and get into the end zone for a touchdown. Iowa State would go right back downfield due to passes to Higgins and Knoll, and they got within 10 yards of the end zone. But the defense held it together when it mattered most, and Iowa State settled for a field goal. But just the very next play, this happened.
Really has been paying dividends early.
Here is Scadaboo, and this is exactly what he does. How did he stay on balance there? Look at him go! Scadaboo inside the 30!
Scadaboo had a huge run, breaking too many tackles to count for almost 50 yards. And Arizona State kept this momentum by picking up first downs due to this catch and run by Kyson Brown and an amazing scramble by Sam Levitt before Scadaboo punched it in for a touchdown and hit the Heisman pose in the end zone. Iowa State would pick up right where they left off and get near the end zone, but on third down, due to a pass interference no call that probably should have been called, Iowa State has to settle for a field goal. And it's not even close to going in. And just the very next play, Levitt heaves it up to 6'4" wide receiver Malik McClain, who redshirted this year but can play in the postseason, and he caught it. But Levitt takes a big sack, putting them out of field goal range and too far to go for it, so they have to punt. But the defense forces a huge 3-and-out, and Scadaboo would have another amazing run.
Joe, is that everybody's alive for the playoff as long as you're in contention to win your conference.
There's Mr. Contact Balance again. Look at Scadaboo go. Tripped up just inside the 20. What an unbelievable first half by Scadaboo.
Scadaboo spins out of contact, goes through a swarm of white jerseys, and somehow doesn't get tackled, changes direction, and finally goes down after picking up a gain of over 50. And after Levitt got a first down with his legs, Scadaboo muscles it into the end zone and hit the Heisman pose once again, making a statement to the entire national media who doubted him and ultimately this entire Arizona State team.
ASU has a promising 24-10 lead, and this team was just 2 quarters away from going to the CFP. And in this half, they would put on a statement.
Second and 4. Sama just tripped. A ball came out. The ball came out. Arizona State has it. Levitt. Touchdown, Gilray. Here's Beck. With time, that ball fluttered and that ball is picked off. That is Abney with the interception. Keith Abney is the star running back. Levitt lofting into the end zone. What a catch! Gilray again. And now even more reason for him to celebrate as he does right there, taking great pride in his Native American heritage. Third down and 5. Levitt swings it to Scadaboo. Scadaboo breaks defenders. Here he goes again. Another touchdown for the Big Bruiser.
Arizona State would have a dominant second half due to the outstanding performance from the defense, forcing 3 turnovers and Xavier Guillory stepping up to score 2 touchdowns. Arizona State would win the Big 12 in only their first year of being in this conference, and they would get a bid to be in the first ever 12-team playoff.
With the final college football playoff rankings coming out, ASU would get a bye due to the format that gives byes to the top 4 conference champions, and they would play either Clemson or Texas.
Here's my take, and people are going to call me crazy for this. I'd rather play Texas than Clemson, and I understand you're like, JT, what the heck is wrong with you? Clemson just barely beat SMU, and they have a lot of momentum going into the playoff game at Texas. Texas just lost to Georgia, and I feel like Texas is just they're hanging on by a thread. I feel like they're gonna beat Clemson, but if Clemson beats Texas, they're gonna have all the momentum going to the ASU game. Obviously, ASU has that momentum, but they're gonna kind of be a little bit fresh, and they're gonna have a couple weeks off. Clemson is just gonna be rolling, and I would be way more scared to play them than a Texas team. What my hope is Texas barely beats out Clemson. They're hanging on by a thread. ASU just gives the finishing punch and beats them. If ASU plays Texas, I genuinely think ASU will win, and that's no bias. If any of you guys, ASU fan or not, have been watching ASU, it's kind of evident that they actually have a legitimate shot. They just got called the worst CFP team ever when there hasn't even been a CFP game. And I guarantee you, it makes me so happy. Kenny Dillingham saw that. Players saw that. Training staff saw that. They're fired up. They cannot wait. I cannot wait. That will be a great game if ASU plays Texas. Whether they play Texas or Clemson, I feel like it'll be a great game.
So far on this drive, it's been the rushing attack. And here's Jaden Blue with room off the right edge. Inside the 20. Turning on the Jets. Into the end zone. Touchdown. Zone offense during the season. Weisner on the cutback. Into the end zone. Another Texas touchdown.
One of the best teams in college football.
Ewers to throw again. Firing into the end zone to Helm. They will run it on 2nd and 4. And Blue breaks free past the 40. The race is on. Blue inside the 10. All the way for the Texas touchdown. 77 yards.
It would indeed be Texas who would pull away despite Clemson's comeback attempt. And with the matchup set, nobody was giving ASU a chance in this game. Everybody from the national media counted ASU out, but we were optimistic. We genuinely thought that ASU could win this game. This would have to be a battle between the two quarterbacks, Sam Leavitt and top 15 recruit of all time, former Big 12 champion, and the quarterback brought in to leapfrog Texas into national title contenders, Quinn Ewers. And despite all of these accolades, Ewers would have a rather disappointing year, struggling with turnovers and had the fans calling to put in their backup quarterback Arch Manning throughout the season. And these two quarterbacks were going head-to-head in this game. And Cam Scadaboo would have a tough task ahead of him against Texas's elite run defense that had SEC running backs bottled up for the whole year. But with the whole world watching, Scadaboo could potentially show everybody who he is, and a good performance would do just that. Texas has a great receiver in Matthew Golden, who went in the first round of this year's draft, and this defense would need to have a huge game in order to stop him. Are you finally ready to see how it went?
Arizona State would have a good, slow first drive, getting into field goal range and making it. But Texas would easily go downfield, tearing apart the defense on their next drive. Ewers would find a wide open receiver on a go route for a touchdown. ASU couldn't get much going on their next possession and had to punt. And on that punt, disaster struck for this team.
Position as he returns it from the 25. And he breaks through. Look at Silas Bolden. Goodbye.
It was a horrible play on special teams as the Texas return man blazes by the Arizona State punt team for a touchdown. ASU goes 3 and out, but a huge sack on Ewers forces Texas to punt as well. And Arizona State gets their best drive since the first possession, but on 4th down, Scadaboo is stopped for a turnover on downs. Texas's offense picks up right where they left off, getting a huge gain on a screen pass that should have been stopped, and kicks a field goal. ASU needs to score on this drive if they want any hope of staying in this game. And on 3rd and 7, Leavitt has to go way back, heaves it up, and is caught by an Arizona State receiver for a first down. But they turn it over on downs once again. Then after a huge tackle by Keyshawn Elliott, ASU gets the ball back. But ASU is deep in their own territory and has to punt once again.
Punter He's thinking about a fake here. And he's going to throw it downfield and get it complete to Lonawong. Blazin' Lonawong, the reserve defensive tackle, on a pass from Canyon Floyd on what was 4th and 9.
It was a fake punt pass to defensive lineman Blazin' Wong to extend this drive, and they use this momentum to get downfield, but Levitt takes a huge sack, and they have to settle for a field goal that gets blocked, ending this disastrous first half for this team.
This was probably the worst I've felt as an Arizona State fan, and we've been through a lot of lows, but this one, just the end of the first half of the Texas game, this was the worst, just because I did not think that we could come back from this. Scadaboo couldn't do anything. Levitt in the offense couldn't go anywhere. Ewers was just tearing apart the defense, and I was just like thinking, maybe this team isn't as good as I thought. Maybe BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State were never that good. We didn't really beat anyone. Now we're facing a good team, and this is what happens. I didn't really think of it as Texas was a good team because I always thought they were overrated. I was just thinking, man, Arizona State is not as good as I thought they were. I had hoped that maybe they could come back, but I did not really think that they could. The defense is getting absolutely torn apart by Texas's offense, and the offense can't get much going. Scadaboo is getting bottled up. Levitt is running around for his life. The receivers can't get much going, and this overall, by far, is the worst half of football this team has played this year. And maybe the national media was right. Maybe the lights were too bright for this team. Maybe they can't be a powerhouse SEC team. Maybe Scadaboo isn't as good as the local fans think, and he just put up good numbers against lesser competition. Maybe this team never was good, they just got lucky that they were here in the first place. These are some of the thoughts that went through the fans' heads at this point, as there was no hope, no momentum, nothing for this fan base to rally around, and we would all go home disappointed. There was one guy that could get this team together. One guy that could talk these players into thinking they could do this. One guy to become the momentum changer for this team. And that is Kenny Dillingham. He must have gotten this team rallied around him and given this team hope. And coming out of the half, Arizona State had a new sense of hope in them. They forced Texas to go 3-and-out on their first drive after a big sack. And Arizona State has their best drive yet due to a huge run by Sam Levitt that gives the crowd their first glimmer of hope. And Cam Scadaboo has his best run of the game, getting within 4 yards of the end zone. But ASU comes up with nothing, as Scadaboo is stopped twice at the goal line for a turnover on downs, ending all momentum that could have been there coming out of the half. But just when it looked bleak for this team, this happened.
Yep. Gets man coverage.
Oh, the ball is loose, and it's going to be a safety. It popped right back into the hands of Quinn Ewers, and the Sun Devils were right on top of it.
I distinctly remember whenever we turned the ball over on the 2-yard line, I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, this is going to be a safety. And that is exactly what happened. Shamari Simmons, this guy he was probably my favorite player on defense. Just the heart and soul of the defense. What a play. This was the moment where I was like, maybe we could come back.
I think where it really started was the safety by Shamari Simmons. That play was outstanding. That's where I realized, okay, this team really wants to win. This team really wants to prove everyone wrong after they were down by so much at halftime to an SEC team who was projected to win the CFP, you could say.
Shamari Simmons has a huge hit on Texas's running back, causing him to fumble, and the ball went right into the hands of Quinn Ewers, but Simmons gets back up and tackles him for a safety. and Arizona State would have a chance to finally put some more points on the board and potentially making this a one-possession game. Cam Skattebo had a huge run, his first big one of the day, to put this team in field goal range. And on 3rd down and 3, Skattebo should have been stopped at the line of scrimmage, but he gives every last bit of his effort to get one final push for a first down. But in the next set of downs, his team can't do anything and have to settle for a field goal, and it's good. But Texas has their best drive of the half, headlined by this catch by Matthew Golden and this great play by Ewers using his legs to get a touchdown. The score is now 24-8, and while it might seem like we're down by a lot, there was a lot of hope as it was just a 2-possession game and the offense consistently got into the red zone. Skattebo looks like his normal self and the defense has stepped up. ASU would get into midfield, but they would be stopped on 3rd down, so they needed to convert on this play. And if they didn't convert this, Texas could run most of the clock out and win this game. This is by far the biggest play of the entire season so far, and we needed this first down.
Down and 2. Trailing by 2 possessions. Skattebo's going to try to throw it downfield, and it is caught! And into the end zone goes Malik McClain! Cam Skattebo!
Skattebo throws like a 50-yard touchdown to Malik McClain. And that was the moment where you're like, okay, that's Skattebo. Skattebo can do it all. Skattebo is forever going to be an ASU legend after this. You're picturing everything. You're picturing, oh my gosh, we're actually going to win. Oh my gosh, ASU is going to come back. Oh my gosh, we're going to play Ohio State or Oregon. Oh my gosh, something big's about to happen. What is happening right now? You could just tell that the energy in the stadium was so pitchforks up, basically. Forks up. The energy shifted from the SEC annoying people to the underdogs who are actually kind of taking over the stadium and taking over this game. And that's what Skattebo can do. He can take over a game. What a play by ASU. Cam Skattebo gets the ball and he is going nowhere. He is locked up. So what does Skattebo do? Oh yeah, he just decides to throw the ball deep to Malik McClain, who comes back to the ball and scores a touchdown. The biggest play this season gets saved by Skattebo and McClain. And with a 2-point conversion, they could potentially make it just a 1-possession game. And on that 2-point conversion, Levitt finds Guillory wide open in the end zone. With just under 6 minutes left, ASU needed a defensive stop badly.
Downfield wants every bit of it, and it's intercepted! It is intercepted by Robinson!
Vaughn Robinson would intercept this ball from Ewers to give the offense the ball with a chance to tie the game. And just one play later, this would happen.
Levitt gonna launch it downfield, looking for Skattebo, and he gets up. Flag is down, stiff arm, helmet off, and multiple flags down as it's an explosive play to Skattebo.
Levitt would throw a great pass to, at this point, are you really shocked? Skattebo. And he made the contested catch. And desperate for a touchdown-saving tackle, Texas safety Michael Taft grabbed the face mask of Skattebo's helmet, ripping it off his head completely. And Skattebo would have a pretty mean look. That had the entire ASU fan base going ecstatic. And just one play later, Skattebo would run it in and score a touchdown. ASU would just be one 2-point conversion away from tying this game, as this would be a monstrous comeback from ASU. On the 2-point conversion, Levitt runs for his life, somehow not being sacked before throwing a bad pass that was intercepted. But there's a flag on the field. It would be defensive holding star and Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron, and ASU would get one more chance to get this conversion. On the next try, Skattebo would get the ball, break a tackle, and run into the end zone, tying the game. There is still plenty of time left in this game, and Texas has a chance to run the rest of the clock out and get a game-winning field goal or touchdown. But Arizona State has a chance to get a stop and send it to overtime. Or if there's enough time, get a stop and go on a game-winning drive of their own. But Texas's offense started clicking as tight end Gunnar Helm caught this ball to put Texas within field goal range. And the defense holds them to a field goal. And
here we go from 48 yards, and it is staying to the right. And we are staying tight.
It misses. ASU has just under 2 minutes to score, and all they need is a field goal to win. They could potentially have the biggest comeback in recent memory, and with the Arizona State fan base, and now even the rest of the college football world rooting for us as well. On first down, Levitt's pass is incomplete, and on second down, Malik McLean false starts, and Levitt's pass is then incomplete again. That makes it 3rd and 15, and ASU needs something big here to extend the drive. Levitt's pass is complete to Snowfall, but he is clearly behind the line to gain. But this is clearly targeting, and that will continue the drive.
You know, I saw this play, and then I saw the hit. I think it was Michael Taft that he had on Snowfall, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's going to be called targeting. There was no worry in my mind that this would not be called targeting.
Let's bring in Matt Austin, our rules expert. Matt, what do you see here?
Well, we definitely have a defenseless receiver, and just as he's turning after catching the ball, he gets hit in the head by the defender. So I would not be surprised if this is called targeting from the booth.
I mean, that would alter the scope of the final 63 seconds of this tie quarterfinal game if that is rule targeting.
Could you imagine that too? Coming at this point of the game on 3rd down?
If it isn't, it's a 4th and 5.
Yeah.
There's no foul for targeting. Texas has declined the runoff. The clock will start at the snap.
That helps Texas greatly here. No targeting on Taft.
It's not targeting. Stovall is clearly a defensiveless player, hitting the head or neck area, and quoting Kenny Dillingham after this, I don't even know what targeting is anymore. Despite this outrage, rightfully so, ASU has the punt, giving Texas the ball with a chance to go on a game-winning drive again. And Texas would go right downfield to the big catches by Matthew Golden and freshman receiver Ryan Wingo. And they would run the rest of the clock out until there were 2 seconds left to kick the game-winning field goal. They had Bert Auburn, who holds the program's record in most field goals made. He was the preseason All-SEC kicker and is one of the best in the country. All he needed to do was make a 38-yard field goal, a chip shot for him. He had done this before, game-winning field goals in big games. And from this range, Texas could put their whole trust in him. Texas gets the ball and drives it downfield to attempt a 39-yard field goal. And we're all just like, we just gave up the season. We just came back, tied it up 24-24, and we just lost the season. That was what I was thinking. I was like, there is no way the Texas kicker, who has records at that school, is going to miss this gimme of a 39-yard field goal. I mean, it's not a gimme, but that's a pretty easy field goal for a kicker who has done a lot. And I remember just thinking, we gave up the lead. And I remember just thinking, we gave it up. We had it right here and we just gave it up. There was so much plays that I think ASU could have done. One play could have changed the game. One catch. One pass breakup. Anything could have ended this game, but no, it ended like this. Texas is going to make a game-winning field goal. And with Arizona State's season on the line, they just watched them kick the game-winning field goal.
To make it to the national semifinals and to cap a classic. Does he have it? Oh, right, denies him. Sparky's got life.
Work him. That's Kenny Dillingham. That's how we roll. Yeah, that's how we roll. Forks up, baby.
that might be single-handedly one of the most amazing moments of my life. So after the field goal, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we are literally witnessing a game that will forever be cemented in ASU history. We are witnessing one of the greatest games ever. He missed. He somehow missed. The kicker that's been so good his whole career misses a field goal. He'll make 99 times out of 100. We're going to overtime. We're not out of it all.
ASU would go to overtime for the first time this season, and they have a great chance to cap off this monumental comeback. If the defense could get a stop and the offense puts points on the board, that would be the ball game as ASU would steal this win in Atlanta. ASU would get the ball to start overtime, and they were held to a 4th and 1, but they needed to score a touchdown as Texas automatically starts it off in field goal range. So they go for it, and just barely Levitt gets the first down on a QB sneak. But a penalty, followed up with Scadaboo and Brown being stuffed at the line, makes it 3rd and long.
Steps up, gets free, inside the 5, and it's 1st and goal. Sam Levitt, reminding many of that man, Jake the Snake.
Levitt puts on the Superman cape and gets the first down with his legs. And the very next play, Scadaboo is bottled up, but he gives one extra push, followed by an offensive lineman carrying him into the end zone. And ASU would just be one defensive stop from winning this game. They did a great job holding them to 0 yards on 1st and 2nd down, and Texas would be held to 3rd and long that doesn't get much going. And a false start penalty sets them way back. That means it is 4th and 13. One stop on this play, and ASU wins. They cap off this insane comeback and will move on to the college football semifinals and will play for a chance to go to the national championship.
Out to up and in, but can they advance? Texas must convert 4th and 13.
It's a blitz look here. Quinn Ewers trying to audible.
To stay alive, can they hook 'em? Touchdown, Matthew Golden!
They send an all-out blitz, and Ewers makes the throw of his life to find Golden open in the end zone. And when Texas got the ball back in 2nd overtime, in just one play they scored a touchdown, finding Gunnar Helm wide open in the end zone. And they get the 2-point conversion as well. And when ASU had the ball, Scadaboo got a first down, but after that they couldn't get much going. And on 3rd and 8, everything was really well covered, and Levitt throws a desperation pass to Snowfall that gets intercepted. What a season. What an amazing season for ASU. Coming from a 3-9 season where we lost to Eastern Michigan, fired our head coach, hiring some one guy from Oregon, I don't know his name, to that guy being Kenny Dillingham, who would go 3-9 again, but have the most underrated transfer portal class that would help them in the Wyoming game, Mississippi State, Texas State. They would fall to Texas Tech. They would come back and rebound against Kansas, have an upset of a lifetime against Utah, and then lose to Cincinnati, but rebound with Oklahoma State, UCF, and then Kansas State, and set a statement versus BYU, steamrolled Arizona, won the Big 12, and was one play away from beating Texas. I know it didn't end the way that I wanted, and it would have been so great if we were to win this game, but you gotta give it up to this team. Kenny Dillingham for making a culture unlike any other team in college football. Sam Leavitt for being a great quarterback in only his freshman year. Jordan Tyson for being the reliable receiver Leavitt could go to if he needed. Shamari Simmons for always making the big hits at the right time. And Cam Scadaboo, who was the heart and soul of this team. Cam Scadaboo was the guy that got this team going. He was the guy that got us in this game against Texas. He was the guy that won us the Big 12 championship. And there's no doubt in my mind that he was the best player in college football. He won Peach Bowl MVP after his team lost. That's never happened, ever. I think if the Heisman voting was a week after the Texas game, I think Cam Scadaboo would have won it because he proved that he was the best player in the country. And there was just something about this Arizona State team I'm never going to forget. I'm going to be 70-something years old telling my grandkids, great-grandkids, about this kid named Cam Scadaboo and this guy named Kenny Dillingham. I'm never going to forget this. I'm never going to forget this team, never going to forget what happened. And I can't say that about a lot of things. I can say that about this season. And I hope that this is more to come. We have a lot of talent on this 2026 team. I think Kenny Dillingham has a culture here in Tempe that no other team has, and people are going to like that. I think come 10 years, we will make the college football playoff, maybe 5 or 6 times. Maybe we'll have even a national championship. I don't know, but Kenny Dillingham, man, he has something special at Arizona State. And while this might be the end of the story for the 2024 to 2025 season, this is not the end of the story for Arizona State. I hope that there's many more documentaries, many more winning seasons, many more playoff appearances to come. And with Kenny Dillingham as our coach, I believe that that's going to happen.
Let's get to business. You kind of just there was a lot going on that day. Everything kind of just stopped in time. And you were like, wow. This was an amazing game. That's really all I can think of. And I couldn't really process in my brain that ASU had just lost the game. And it was pretty tough. We had family visiting in town, and I remember ignoring everyone for the next 4 hours. I was just in a grumpy mood because it sucked. I mean, it really did. ASU going from 16th in the Big 12, beating Wyoming with Fiaseu's pick, to beating Kansas in a big game, losing to Texas Tech, beating Utah, rushing the field. Seeing Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson start to really bond. Seeing the defense grow from the first game all the way to the Texas game. Watching Kenny Dillingham run onto the field to call timeouts. All of that was amazing. All of it. All of it was amazing. And ASU changed everyone's lives who, whether you're Cam Scadaboo, who's in the NFL, to Kenny Dillingham, who is one of the greatest coaches now, to even me and Quinn at AZ Sports Roundup and all the ASU fans, that changed our lives because now we're going to be telling, whenever we're all old, we're going to be telling people about, yeah, I got to witness this crazy game. That, whether you win or lose, that is what college football is really about. If you can tell yourself that one day in 40 years, I will remember this game like it was yesterday, that's what college football is about. This documentary was obviously to show how ASU's success was amazing and what they did, but it's also to show that college football is an amazing sport. College football definitely changed my life. Changed this podcast, AZ Sports Roundup. Arizona State proved everyone wrong. Whether they won or lost, it was still so fun to watch. And if you can genuinely see a team, whether they win or lose, still enjoy the sport of college football and be like, that was still fun. Whether they beat Wyoming 47-7 or whether they lose to Texas Tech 30-22, I think. If you can still say, wow, this team is a crap ton of fun to watch, that's what it's all about. This part was pretty cool, you gotta admit. But all good things must come to an end. So camera JT is off. Goodbye. See you in the voiceovers. If you were to tell anyone, even the biggest ASU fan that was coming off a program-ruining recruiting scandal, 2 straight 3-9 seasons, and picked to finish last in the conference would win the Big 12 championship, they would have thought you were crazy. But this is exactly what happened. We really went through it all as fans. The frustrating losses against Texas Tech and Cincinnati, the injuries to Levitt, Scadaboo, and Tyson, everybody outside the program doubting and writing off this team. And ultimately the triumph as we went 11-2, winning the Big 12 championship, and was so close to pulling off the biggest comeback of the year. So thank you for joining us as we shared this roller coaster of a season. And just know, this ain't the end. This is just the beginning of many more great seasons to come.